All right, today we are going to do section 10.1, area of parallelograms. So before we get started, I want to go over a couple of vocabulary words we need to know. So the area, when we talk about area, we talk about how many square units can fit inside a figure. A figure covers. The number of square units a figure covers. So if I were to draw a unit or a shape onto graph paper, how many of those squares would it cover? Okay, and a parallelogram is a shape that has two pairs of parallel sides. Okay, so as you can see, this side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. They would never meet if we continued them on forever. As with this one, paralleled with this side, and this one is parallel to that side. Same with this one, parallel, 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 parallel. Okay, so they would never touch. Remember, parallel lines are ones that never touch. Intersecting lines are ones that do touch or do cross each other. Okay, so what we need to know is to find the area of a parallelogram. Okay, that's just how we're going to write it. A big A means area. Little parallelogram, that means the area of a parallelogram is the base times the height. Where the base has to be a right angle with the height. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, here's a couple examples here. We need to find the area. Our first shape we're going to do looks something like this. Again, when we free draw these, it's not going to look perfect. Okay, I'm doing my best, you're doing your best. We'll just have to make it look somewhat like it. But we do know that the base here is 20 centimeters. The height is 15 meters. Okay, and we need to make sure that both the base and the height are the same unit. Okay, so in this we've got meters, in this one we've got centimeters, so please make sure that they get to the same unit. So now this is where I'm happy that I have my math notebook, because I can go back to section 3.7 where it talks about the metric units. Okay, and it tells me when I have kilograms, hectograms, decagrams. Our unit, what's our unit? Meters. Then I have decimeters, centimeters, millimeters. Okay, so we're starting at our unit right here. So our decimal point's going to start here, and I have to go to centimeters. 10, 20, that's where we can start. Not 10, 20, sorry, 10, 100. So I know I'm either going to have to multiply or divide by 100 to get my centimeters into meters. Okay. So I know that a centimeter is much smaller than a meter, so we're going to have to divide by 100 to go from centimeters, go from centimeters to meters. Or I could multiply by 100 if I'm going from meters to centimeters. So I can choose which one I'd want to do. I think it would be easier to have whole numbers, so I'm going to multiply by 100, or move that decimal point 2 spots. So here I have 1,500 meters centimeters, because now we are in centimeters. So I can write centimeters here. Okay, so now I just have to do my base, 20, times my height, 1,500, to get my answer. I'm going to add a 0 because I know if I multiply 0 by all those numbers, I'm going to get a 0. Then I can multiply 2 by 0, 2 by 0, 2 by 5, get a 10, 2 by 1 and get a 2, and one more, get a 3. So it would be 30,000 centimeters would be my, oops, we better write area of a parallelogram so we know what we're talking here. Area of a parallelogram equals 30,000 centimeters. Okay, so now hopefully it'll get a little bit easier here. Our second one for number 2 looks something like this. Okay, and it tells us that 20 centimeters is the bottom, is our base, and then it does something like this, and that says 8 centimeters. Okay, because if you look at it, this base right here and this side right here, that is not a 90-degree angle. That is not it doesn't make a perfect box. Okay, so we are looking for something like this, that this can be our base and this can be our height. Whereas this is not a 90-degree angle. That's more like a 100-degree angle or something like that. Okay, so that's why they have to tell us what the actual height of this parallelogram is. Okay, and luckily they're both centimeters. Okay, so all I have to do is say what is 20 times 8, because area of a parallelogram equals base times height. Okay, so here's our base, here's our height, so I just have to do 20 times 8. 8 times 0 is 0, 8 times 2 is 16. So 160 centimeters is the area of our parallelogram. Okay, that's a big long word to be fitting in there. Okay, so that one is much easier, like I said. It only stinks when they're different units, and then you have to try and figure out how to convert the units to make sure that they're the same unit. All right, let's try one more here. Okay, one of those crazy ones where it looks something like this. Something like that. We'll try it out, okay? And here's what this one says. This one has a dot going that way, a dotted line coming up, and then it has a right angle. Okay, it says this is 10 meters, and this is 3 meters. Ooh, I should make sure, though, that I'm doing this correctly here, okay, because this needs to be a continuation of this line. There we go, that looks much better. Okay, so I apologize. This 3 meters should go right here. Okay, so this one right here, like I said before, this line and this line, that's not a 90-degree angle. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to figure out, okay, so this is 3 meters, okay, and this is 10 meters. So really for this one, all we have to do is multiply 3 times 10. We all know that that would be 30. So the area of our parallelogram equals 30. Okay, so the reason why, though, that we need this 10 up here, it's not part of our parallelogram, but if I were to extend this down here, okay, it would make more a shape that we are used to. So if this side of the shape of our parallelogram is 10 meters, what do you think this side is? That's also 10 meters, okay? And what does this make right here? A nice right angle. Okay, right angles, like I said, they're like a corner of the square, and they are also called 90-degree angles. Okay, so we have to make sure we're not using any numbers that don't have a right angle. So that has a right angle right between our height and our base, so that means we can multiply those numbers together to know that our parallelogram is meters. Make sure you always check that they are the same unit of measurement. Okay, so this one's pretty easy. Hopefully they won't give you too many tricky ones, because all we have to do is multiply our base and our height of our shape. All right, that should be it for today. Thank you for watching.